That's because, and by the title of this video, this is not going to be a Tasha's video. I feel like it's sort of much of a point me still doing those videos. I'm also just getting over having a flu and or cold. I don't know what it was. My throat was very sore. I still feel it in the back of my throat. The pain when I eat and swallow, drink. So I've been drinking plenty of fluids. Don't worry about that. But either way, now I decided to do this video on camera because I didn't want to just again I bought the camera to continue doing videos. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to add many commentary to videos due to my illness, and I didn't do many videos last week. I did as many videos as I could, especially with Cyberpunk 2077. I'll probably do more videos throughout the day for a while, but I do have to babysit later in the day, and as such, I can't commit to doing more videos. I just got back from my morning walk routine, which I'm going to have to take a break from because I've been walking so much lately that I was actually bleeding a little bit. Unfortunately, I think my weight is sort of causing me some issues with the exercise. But anyway, this is not a vlog video, this is a story video, and I'm now jumping onto Twitch on my phone to make sure you guys can hear me. And then we'll get into the story. I just wanted to give like some level of update on why I didn't do things last week. Now, mind you, it would be annoying that if I did this and then it turns out you couldn't hear me. Okay, so yeah, you guys can't hear me, so that's something. Alright, so this is the story of Sep. He is as you can see by me being on the actual character sheet, this is my character from a campaign that I play every Friday night with some friends in America. Now, he's not level 1, but I did recently multi-class. He's actually a homebrew necromancer class that me and a friend worked on for about, I think it was 2 years, and then we're now like actually now using it. It's we've been field testing it quite a bit, and it's actually gone through a lot of changes. It's going to be on DM's Guild hopefully soon, so hopefully other people will be able to try it, and we'll be able to get some more positive, hopefully some positive feedback in the terms of like what we should fix and what not. That's what I mean by positive feedback. I don't want just people telling us, oh, how great it is. I want people to actually do proper constructive criticism rather than just tell us, oh, it's shit, but then giving us nothing to work with on how to improve it. Anyway, so Sep, he's a Lizardfolk, where we're playing on a custom world setting that the DM created, and the Lizardfolk there are the only inhabitants of this sort of swamp area. Now, Lizardfolk are not necessarily like what they're stereotypically like for the most part, where they're very much villains, and it's only rare do you see one that's not a villain. From what I gathered, they live hold on, I'm actually going to bring open the campaign. There we go. I'm on to, hopefully I can get the name of the campaign on this. I want to get at least some of the names of the locations, you know. We're not just waiting for a Roll20 to load, because I have to use Roll20 due to the fact that D&D Beyond does not support homebrew classes yet. They support homebrew subclasses, but not homebrew classes. Okay. It's a little blurry, just have to wait for the image to... There we go. So, the swamp is called the Twilight Swamp. He is from, if I remember correctly, Darstrix or Court. It hasn't came up... Unfortunately, it has not come up that often, but like the Lizardfolk of the Twilight Swamp actually have a fair bit of trade that they do with the tieflings on Devil Island, that's what it's called, of the city of Tulsavit, which is actually a city that's built inside of a volcano. Very interesting, cool stuff. But tieflings there. Sorry, just my dog Rascal is wants some attention. Come here, Rascal. Oh, that's good. Come on. Come here up. Come here. I'll pick you up. See, he's such a sucker for belly rubs that, like, when you try and pick him up, he would just roll over, and instead he would rather just get a belly rub rather than be held. So here he is, Rascal. Now, he may look like a puppy, but he actually is fully grown. He was the runt of his litter, and we have him, like, we have his dad and his brother downstairs, but his dad and brother have been sort of bold, so they're in their little cage with their food and whatnot while I'm doing this video, and I decided to bring him upstairs rather than leave him outside in the cold. Him and his dad don't get along, so which is why he's not in the cage with them. But instead of leaving him out in the cold, I decided to bring him upstairs. Come on, go back to me. Go back to me. Good dog. Good dog. Okay. So, now, as a necromancer, the way we work the necromancer class is it's sort of like similar to the sorcerer, where you have some sort of like extra special thing about you. This is a connection to the Shadowfell. You have a sliver of it within you, and that's what gives you access to abilities that are very, necrotic in nature. And as such, he was trained to be like a shaman of his tribe and village. But eventually he saw a vision of the swamp burning. The swamp is sort of like an entity that they protect, but also somewhat worship. Like they see it as a complete living thing, and they want to protect it. So my character went out to Seb went out to Hertstead, and in Hertstead he met with a couple of other people, and he had a vision, and he believed that some of these people were the key to solving what the vision meant and how he could protect his homeland. Now, the particular necromancer subclass that me and my friend made, Rascal is not exactly the most well-trained dog. He is very territorial. So now, apart me, when he's walking around sniffing like that, I'm a bit paranoid of, like, oh my god, is he going to piss on my bed? I hope he doesn't. Otherwise he's been a very bad dog. Okay, he's not, he stopped sniffing. So they went to a lake that is just north of the Twilight Swamp. Him and the rest of the party. I would love to, unfortunately we have a lot of characters in this Roll20 list that are either, some of them are members, but some people made their characters on different things. So unfortunately I don't have everyone's name, sadly. That is, and some people have swapped characters, I believe. No one has swapped characters. To my knowledge, I don't think. I feel like someone did, but we lost 2 of the players though throughout the campaign. They had real life got involved and they left. So, but yeah, he is what's called a blood necromancer. He uses his connection to the Shadowfell and his ability to manipulate necrotic energies to harness blood. The idea of this subclass is he uses blood to heal. So I was actually the de facto healer in the group. Now for a while I did have a good number of damage dealing spells, as well as a couple of healing spells, and we had another druid, a Circle of the Lands druid, who actually did spec more towards healing. So we actually had a party of 2. We actually had 2 healers, and I opted to do some healing, but then did a good bit of damage, whereas he focused more on healing. Now he left, and I've now focused more on healing since he left. So we delved into this lake. We were hired by this merchant, or treasure finding guild, which 2 of the party members are actually from. Now the 2 members from that guild in the good party is a warlock. I believe he's not a hexblade. I think he's a fiend, or he's supposed to be. The DM is doing a fun thing with him where he's par fey but par old one, I think, because he's sort of caught between 2 ancient beings. So his abilities sort of reflect that. But the other person's another homebrew class called a soul weapon. This is a person who can turn themselves into a weapon, and he's wielded by the warlock. So some time goes by, We finally find a way to get to the bottom of the lake. It was very deep. My character was able to scout some of it because, as our lizard folk, Sep can hold his breath for up to 15 minutes without magic. Plus, he has his own. So that's more than most people can, even with high constitutions. But eventually, we do find it. Find a way. We actually find an aboleth that's sort of nice. It's sort of, I believe the implication is that he suffered brain damage or something like that, and he's very nice. However, now the DM took this because he found it as inspiration from an aboleth that is in Tomb of Annihilation. So he took inspiration from that aboleth. So the aboleth, with the use of also the spell War Breathing, we were able to get down. This is after, however, we fought against a dragon with the help of some giants, and we ransacked the dragon's hoard to find a good bit of treasure, as well as a trident that allowed for fish speak, and we used the fish also to help look for the ancient ruins underneath. We find the ancient ruins, and it turns out it has a connection to our warlock. It's his old one, or whatever patron that the DM is using for it. And it's like this sort of eldritch horror type thing. We accidentally unleashed it. My character only took part in the ritual to accidentally unleash it because he trusted this person, because he trusted in the vision, and he was like, okay, well, the vision led me here, and then so I trust this guy, very well. Turns out I should have questioned him a bit more, but he was also tricked by this patron, so it's a bit of a So they completed the task. They didn't manage to. We fled. This was a situation where we did try and fight. I'm healing, so is the other druid, and we're not able to keep everyone alive, so we all fled. And when the aboleths decided to stay behind and fight while we escaped. So this is a weird situation where the aboleth was actually a hero. We don't know if the aboleth is dead, or if it just fled, or if he is just badly injured. So we went back to Herdstead, where we met another player character, and my character had to register as a necromancer. He had to get a special necromancy license by the world government that rules over this continent. So once my character, I believe my character actually still doesn't have his license. He actually, in the end, he did join up with a guild that does technically have a universal license for all of its members. But I joined up with this guild because part of my character's vision was the world was on fire, but in a war between the demons and the devils. And we met this person as part of the Conway, who was a member of the Conway Corp, and he offered, he told us about it, and my character was like, oh wow, they may have lots of information about demons and devils. So my character signed up. We unfortunately, as much as he would love to have just focused on research, he was told that, well, okay, there have been devil sightings in this forest, the Fey Forest, far to the north. We would like you and the group to investigate. So our party does. We take this road through a village called Fardend. Now these three villages a lot of these three villages that we hear most about were set up because they did not want to live with lots of magic. They don't trust magic, so they want to live much simpler lives. So they made their settlements with this type of mentality. Now, Fardrind, turns out, was being heavily attacked a lot by gnolls, and then we, the party, decided to fight the gnolls. We defended them, and this is a situation where my character, Sep, was brought up. The Lizardfolk are very tribal. They have a very simplistic mindset, and that's what I'm trying to portray with this character. He doesn't quite understand the machinations of governments. He doesn't understand the fact that Fardend, Northrend, and Custenwald and Hartstead, and even the other city a bit to the south, Mittendorf, he doesn't quite understand the idea that like these have their own sort of like little separations of themselves. Like Hertzstead is not under any obligation to help out Fortrand, even though they're all under the umbrella of like the human settlements, you know. So he doesn't quite understand. He's like, but you're all human. Like, do you not help each other? Like, it's not racking his brain. Whereas the Lizardfolk, they do look out for their own tribe. Obviously, I imagine like their own village first, as well. But from what I gathered and talked with my DM, they do have a lot of communication between each other because the swamp is a very dangerous place to live. It is very dangerous, and you know that is very common. So like that's why my character is just like, why? You guys have roads and whatnot. You know it's possibly far safer than what it is like in the Twilight Swamp. Um, but no, eventually the party does manage to fight them off. Um, Sep tries to arrange something. Sep at this point starts getting an idea as a necromancer of like how he could try and help out not only the swamp but multiple people throughout the world, all the different settlements and whatnot. So he starts working on a project, what he calls Project Guardian. He's still not finished it yet. This is something that my character is going to be working on. This is something that I believe my character is going to currently work on at the moment. Now, things can change. There have been slight changes in his personality and ideas since then, but he also this character is also particularly often poor because he doesn't really collect on his share of the money too often because like as a Lizardfolk he has no real concept of like money. But yeah, so we managed to fight them off, the gnolls off, and a big really no. This battle was fun. It was very lengthy. It took us hours to get it done, but it was fun. And then we decided that we chased after the gnolls to try and get them at their source, and we then discovered that there's demon stuff going on about. Sorry guys, I did not take my medicine. My nose is very itchy because of allergies. Oh. So we managed to survive miraculously against the gnolls that we were fighting against because by the DM, our DM is a bit more liberal. We don't follow the player's handbook or the DMG completely. We have our own set of home rules that we use, and sometimes we agree with each other, sometimes we don't. But we are a collective of DMs and players that we do play with each other. For example, the DM that DMs this game, he's a player in my Thursday and Saturday night games, and you know me and him are a player in another players of this games that also take place on Saturday. So like we all take turns DMing and we all have different games with each other. So there's a sense of like, okay, we get a sense of what we're about. So now so with that homebrew rule in mind, keep in mind folks, okay, so keep that in mind, that our warlock tried to beseech his patron, his Fey patron, to help them in this time of need, and the DM was like, okay, roll a d100. He rolled it, apparently he succeeded, and the patron appeared somewhat and healed the party but damaged the enemy, and that allowed us to win the day. We returned back to Fardrand as heroes, my character suggesting to the mayor, try and arrange something with the village to the north, or try and see if you can, you know, get word out to Hertzstead, you know, like get something set up. Now again, Sep has a very different mindset, and that mindset comes to a head in a big way when we get into the Fey Forest. So we travel to Northrend with one new party member, and it's around here that the party realizes just how there was a big. We were not aware, or we were never made aware that there was a magic shop in Fartwind. Now this was a hiccup on the DM's part. Well, that's what we the players feel like. Well, it felt like at the time. And so we didn't actually buy any new gear. It's been quite a while since we've been in a city, and we just thought for example, because we didn't really inspect for magic shop, because we were also led to believe that Fartwind was, didn't want magic. So we were like, why would they have a magic shop? They have an alchemy shop a year, sure, but potions can be also attributed to herbalism, which is a bit more natural than outright arcane magic, which we attribute more towards the arcane. But apparently that wasn't the case. Fartwind was one of our last places to actually get outfitted before the difficulty got pumped up. We were not made aware of that, but anyway, this has gone back ages, so that has been completely resolved to everyone's satisfaction. So at Northrend, we get attacked by a devil who apparently came from the Fey Forest. We were able to take it down not before we lost. Our horses were on like 1 HP after a fireball attack, and then we were made hero. We were congratulated by Northrend. We didn't stay in Northrend long. We did pick up by a couple of spies. We asked them questions about the Fey Forest, and we moved on. So we then move on to the Fey Forest, and it was at this point that my character actually had zombies and skeletons with him as extra muscle. Now, it was around our entrance to the Fey Forest did I lose all that, because we got attacked by, we saw another one of those devils. One of our players had a brilliant idea. He created an illusion of our cart going a different direction, and then I left my skeletons and zombies basically as distractions, which then this devil apparently could use fireball at will. Yes, fireball. So bye bye skeletons and zombies, so they were gone. And we entered the Fey Forest. Now it was around here where my character started getting along and started getting closer to another druid, Aurelius. He was a furbog, and he was telling him about the Wild Mother, and he's seen how he is so much at home in the Fey Forest. And it's a very different atmosphere to the swamp. So my character started thinking, and he started processing, like, wow, so this person harnesses life, and this place is so much bigger and has so much life in it as opposed to my swamp, And my character even started getting homesick, and he expresses that, and how much he feels sort of like at home, like this place reminds him of home. He meant as a compliment to these fairies or pixies that their lights as they flew around reminded him of the insects that would like the bioluminescent insects that flew around in his home. He meant it as a compliment, but obviously they took it as an insult. And we then started making our way towards. We discovered that the devils that were apparently coming out of the Fey Forest are coming from a cave closer to the mountains at the edge of the Fey Forest, but they're going through the Fey Forest to get to them. We had a few hiccups, and now again, Sepp this. It was around this time that Sepp started focusing more and more on healing, and then it all came to head after an encounter with for a ladder, and after we took care of this hag that was taking the young of these werecat or cat-like people from a tribe, did my character's attitude start to really, he started butting heads more and more with some of the Fae that ruled over some of the different villages that existed in the Fey Forest. The Fey Forest is not dominated, and again, like, some people who are more familiar with the Fae may understand a bit more. The Fae are not a collective. They are a collective in a species, but they don't have, generally because of their chaotic nature, they don't really have conformity. They don't have real, 100% unity. Typically, Imagine if there's an archfey in an area that's nearby to a village. The village may answer to him, but for the most part, everything's by itself. So, and this type of thing now is much more different than what you had with the human settlements. You know, I imagine if Fartwind or Northrend was to be attacked by, say, another government body in wishing to attack, or if they were in serious threat of being potentially wiped out, and Hertzstead was more aware of the situation, they probably would send out an army. But the thing is, Fartwind and Northrend, I don't think supply Hertzstead with food. I think they get their food and whatnot from nearby unmarked villages. And as such, so like there was some level of connection, you know, like there's roads and whatnot, but like there's not such a thing in the Fey Forest. Everything's much more. It's much more apparent that everything's isolated or everything's separate. So Sepp really could not wrap his head around it. He's like, why aren't all these villages uniting to defend their home? And he started getting angry at that because like he's trying to be like, you guys need to unite, but everyone's just like, no, like why should we? You know, because it's pretty much like they all had the attitude like it in his mind. It was like, why are you only caring about something when it affects you? You know. Now, mind you, like the Lizardfolk technically are in the same way. They don't. It's not like they go out of this Twilight Swamp regularly to help other people. You know, they pretty much keep to themselves. And the only reason why my characters left the swamp is because the swamp was potentially in danger, so it would have affected them. That is the only reason why he left. So, you know, so it's a bit of a hypocrisy that Sepp is not seen quite yet, and he's slowly building up to that realization that like, okay, we ourselves, like the Lizardfolk ourselves, are isolated. We do have trade with the tieflings down south, but we need to be more active. You know, we have survived in a swamp that no other race has been able to settle in. So we need to go out and help. We have talents, and we can really help people. You know, so he's coming to that realization. So we dealt with this hag that was taking these people and making them into like sort of like flesh golems. Now we managed to take out the hag very quickly, but unfortunately the flesh golems were, because of our lack of equipment, prep or whatever, and again we missed our chances of buying supplies because we weren't really notified of any reason for certain places to have, you know, magic items. We did not have the full equipment that we probably would have had for our level. So we could not really deal with the flesh golems. Now after that, my character scared the were people. He tried to scare them straight by telling them the real horrors of what we encountered in the village, which put him on the bad side of the party. Now again, from the party's perspective, I completely agree. Like, dude, like if Seb was another character, if someone in a party, I imagine, depending on my character's alignment, if I had a lawful good or a good character who was from maybe the Meadowbrook, Brooksdale, Goldenfield, or Hertzstead, or even someone from the Fey Forest, if I saw someone like Sep telling like the cold-blooded truth of the hag abducting basically like someone like children and creating them into like flesh golems, I would have been like, dude, time and place, like what the fuck? And so like I would have been like that. So like unfortunately though, from Seb's point of view, he did not do anything wrong. Again, he has a very different mindset and alien mentality. He has a very different mentality towards things. So like again, it's one of the fun things about playing the Lizardfolk. It was around here that he started asking more and more about Aurelius to help him harness. He wants to put balance in himself, though. He knows that he has a huge amount of necrotic or non-life undead energy inside of him, but he wants to bring balance. He wants to be able to harness both life energy and death. Bring a balance. So this is where he started his path on communion with the Wild Mother to try and harness that life energy. It doesn't come to a fruition for several sessions later. It's around here that we meet for Eladrin. And the Fire Eladrin, oh boy, does she and Set butt heads. The Summer Eladrin, oh my god. See, they want to give us boons and help us, basically help us prepare for dealing with the devils or fiends that are in this cave. They heard about us going to hunt these creatures, and they want to help us to an extent. But because the cave is located outside of their territory, they don't want to leave. And this is when Sep really loses it. He's like, just so okay. So he was basically, I'm getting his words, and I'm not going to do his voice. I actually do have a voice for him that I do, but I'm not going to do it. Actually, no, I will do it. He was just like, so you're telling me that just because this place is outside of the Fey Forest by a potential few miles, you're not going to do anything about it? You're sending us with just some boons that you offer? Now, this obviously did not go well. Him and there's actually combat involved between Sep, one other party member, and the Summer Eladrin. Now, the Summer Eladrin kicks our asses, which, from Sep's point of view, only further establishes, like, why are you sending us when you can come with us or do it? Like, okay, sure, don't do it yourselves, but, like, team up with us and we all go in and deal with this. That's refurbished in his mind. Now eventually Sep swallows his pride, and in order to get the job done, which is get rid of these fiends, he does apologize to the Eladrin, but he apologizes in such a way so that, like, it's not. He tells like a half truth. Like, he apologizes for his disrespect, but he's not apologize. But he doesn't apologize for what he said. He's sorry about the way he went about it, but he's not apologizing for saying it. Again, it was a weird loophole type situation. But again, the Summer Eladrin decides to, okay, fine, I'll give you my boon, which allows now them and allowed the rest of our party to get like fire resistance, which is very useful. So we go through the cave, and there's a bunch of devils. Now again, our group has not really many equipment or stuff going on, so like the fights are getting increasingly more perilous. Our warlock actually dies, and I have to revivify him. Now, and again, keep in mind, folks, I'm now up to this point. I've been shifted to more healing, and I'm now a dedicated healer at this point. And even then, we still, like, someone dies, and I had to revivify him. And we haven't, and this is only us going like at the entrance of the cave. We actually only fought like 3, maybe 4 devils, and which then prompted me and another player to approach our DM and like, okay, you need to we feel like you need to rescale your encounters, because one, we lost several party members that are no longer traveling with us, so we actually lost a significant chunk of our power, and also we still don't have that way much of equipment because of previous conversation. So now that conversation didn't go over too well at first, but then eventually we continued talking. We kept bringing it back up, and then eventually we eventually came to a realization. We got through to the DM, and eventually things settled. Now we actually have a decent set of equipment thanks to this cave. The DM did change some stuff, and it was all good. Now in the cave, the cave was so fun. I'm going to have to admit this. Despite the difficulty scaling issue, The cave was really fun to get through. It was really fun. I loved the description. I loved the way the atmosphere, like the way the DM described it. It was very, very fun. Oh god, I would. Oh, it was so fun. So we continue going on. We find at the heart of this cave a portal which does lead. I think they were. There is an errand, yes, so which leads me to believe this was devils. So we find a portal that basically leads to the nine hells. We managed to close it, and we fought an errand, yes. And now apparently this errand, yes, had some sort of connection to our soul weapon companion of the party, and which then led to him actually occasionally attacking us and us having to knock him out unconscious, like, which was really really fun. Like, it added a new party dynamic, which comes about at the next session when we leave the cave, because we're like, dude, what the hell? We had to knock you unconscious because you attacked us. And it was also around at this point. It was after the cave did we level up, and I got my first level in Druid, which to make things a bit easier for myself to track wall shaping, because there is a section in the extras, like when you are a certain level and certain classes, that does allow me to keep track of my wild shaping. So that's what I did. These are his stats, and as you can see, he doesn't really have spectacular stats, with the exception of his constitution. His charisma, I could have swore was a bit higher. Let me just open him. I'm on the character sheet that has him here. Hold on. Okay, there we go, folks. Something happens to the webcam there. I just noticed the green light vanished. But yeah, so we're going to these ruins and then to the Astral Lake to meet the Archfey, that is the father of our Warlock player character. Here we go. That's strange. Okay. But it looks like we're working now, so that's the good news. So, actually, I'm going to check Twitch again, folks, just to be sure. So, actually, I'm going to check Twitch again. Okay, yeah, so it is working. So, once that's done, though, my character has voiced the opinion of going to Tuzavid to talk. Ooh. Thank you, I'm not sure how to pronounce this. Seister15. Thank you for giving me the notice. See, the thing is, I don't always expect people to actually be watching these videos. I know I'm being a bit down on myself, but hey. So I generally have to check these things. Sister, okay. Thank you for the cool pronunciation. Love the emote though. Like, what is that? A robot, or is that supposed to be just like a white ghost type thing? Interesting. Anyway, so yeah, so we're going. Yeah, I suppose I suppose I should be a bit more positive, you know. Really, that's default. Interesting. I always expected the yellow emojis to be the default. So yeah, so sorry, I don't script these. I don't pre-plan my videos. I just sit down and I come up with a basic outline of what I'm going to talk about, and then I just start talking. So sometimes I have to remember what was I about to say. So yeah, the party was going to go to Tulsavid because from his interactions with his interactions and his people's interactions with the tieflings, he believes they may have a bit more knowledge of the fiends, because apparently Tulsavid, the reason why it's called Devil's Island is because the jungles around the volcano where the tieflings live in the city is fairly fiend infested. So he's like, if anyone knows how to combat them or may know more information, then a mercenary monster hunting guild would be those guys. So, which unfortunately is quite a long way. It's basically traveling for like maybe 2 months by the road. So that is the current plan. Now back to these lakes that I was mentioning. Sorry, these pools of water. The warlock ran over to these pools because again we don't know what the Astral Lake looks like. We just know by the map that it's supposed to be big. So I suppose we should have known better. But he runs over, he looks in, and then so the rest of us are just standing there, and then something just pulls him in. You know, and we're just like, what the fuck? My character, you know, having traveled with this person, cares quite deeply for his party. He does care very deeply. So my character, the Lizardfolk, just runs over because he's like, hey, if we're fighting in the water, hey, that's my home. So like he's just like, oh, I got you. No, it's funny that that's the mindset that Seth would have had going into this fight, because wait till you hear what happens. So me and the other Fae character runs over. We then get pulled in, and apparently this is an actual creature, but the DM scaled it up, and he acknowledges I screw up the scaling of this encounter. He acknowledged that he followed this website's recommendations on modifying this creature to scale it up for higher CR, and he realized it, and he then owned up. He's like, yeah, I fucked up. They're not his exact words, just the gist of what you're saying. So apparently we were all in separate, isolated, like demi-planes, fighting like a reflection of ourselves. I think it came out in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and so we're fighting these things. and we have two other party members who are outside the lake. They can't do anything because they just saw now three of us get pulled in. And so one of our party members, now the DM was being lenient. He allowed this to happen with the whip. And so the player with one of our player characters, I think it was the soul weapon, takes out his whip and starts whipping people. No, it wasn't the soul weapon. It was a gunslinger. He's a sniper. So he takes out his whip and he starts whipping people and starts pulling them out. Now several of us did go unconscious, so some people had to be healed. Or no, sorry, we didn't have a healer at the time. So people who were pulled out while they were unconscious, he just used his medical supplies to stabilize them, just flat out stabilize them. So they were still going to be unconscious for 1d4 hours. My character, however, now here's the condition though, folks. This is where it gets very interesting. The condition of him pulling us out with the whip, he has to attack us with the whip to pull us out. So as part of that condition, any of us that were maybe say as unconscious or at 0 hit points, that would count as a hit, which gives us an automatic 2 death saving throws. It was automatic, or at least it was an automatic 1 death save. One automatic failed death save. So some of us were left with 1 fail and then stabilized. I was left on 1 fail as he was pulling me out. But here's the catch though. No one was going to be able to stabilize me until after my turn. I was out of the lake. I was knocked unconscious. These creatures were pretty much immune to almost everything that all of us had. None of my spells or weapons would have harmed this creature, which is very unfortunate for me. So after I get pulled out, the DM was like, okay, Seb, roll me a death save. And up until this point, folks, I should say I've had unbelievable luck with Seb when it came to death saves. We're talking nat 20s in the clutch. Like, for example, in that fight with the Aranyes in the Devil's Cave, like, there were moments where our party was getting decimated, and then I rolled a nat 20. Seb gets up 1 HP, and he just throws out a mass cure rounds or heal or whatever, and we survived just long enough to clinch the victory, So I was like, okay, I got this. Natural 1. Natural 1. Now, mind you, folks, this is within the first 30 minutes of the campaign. Natural 1 with 1 failed that saving throw, which results in death. Sep had died. Just after I leveled up in Druid as well. So, for funsies, and because I had the sore throat that I had, I asked the DM, hey, it's okay if I bug out of this session, because of that way, if they revive me and the DM were messaging each other privately about like, okay, hey, if I have backup characters in mind, so I'm fine if he's dead, but if you come up with some way to bring him back to life, sure, let me know and I'll come back in. But I have a sore throat and I'm going to relax, look after it, nurse it while you guys have your session. I'm not going to listen because it'd be more fun for them to have to tell me. I thought it'd be more fun for them having to tell me in character what did Seth miss or what they went through to revive him. So that was my train of thought. So I left. About 3 or 4 hours go by, and the DM messages me. He's like, "Hey, would you mind stepping back in?" I come back. Now my girlfriend who's in this session is messaging me. She messaged me a picture like, "Jason, we found a unicorn," and I'm like, "Oh wow, what's going on?" So I come back, and they're doing a ritual to bring me back to life. Now this is after 3 days that I've been dead. Apparently they've been carrying my body for 3 days in game. To hopefully find some way of reviving me, and only 1 player remembered what Sep requested to happen when he died. Only 1 player was actually able to remember. So it turns out they met I'm assuming is an archfey, and they were doing all this. They were doing the ritual because me and the DM, we agreed to the idea that what Matt Mercer rules resurrection in Critical Role, Now we don't rule it for revivify, but any type of other resurrection magic, that is after like a day or so, we do say like, okay, give us some checks and see if could you get the gods or convince the spirit to come back. And to be honest with you, the DM wanted me to hear no, and I agree. So that's why I came back. I sat down to listen to what they had to say, how did they contribute to the ritual. Unfortunately, my girlfriend and the DM did butt heads over something, which, no, both of them were at fault. I have to acknowledge that both of them were at fault. And I even said that to my girlfriend afterwards. I was like, hey, you were just as at fault as he was. So, sorry. I'm Switzerland. I'm neutral. So basically, she did not participate in the fun ritual, but the rest of the party did. And I was sitting there like, okay. So turns out Sepp is back alive. As you can see on this, he does have 1 HP. So, like, we ended this session there because we went overtime. We went actually overtime on the session to complete this ritual. To be honest with you, if I knew that they were going to go after this ritual, I would have told the DM, save the ritual for the start of the next session. So that way they would have to go a week. Actually, no, they would have went 2 weeks, not knowing if they brought Seth back to life. I would have done that, and the DM in me would have dangled that cliffhanger. I would have been like, hey, see you in the new year. We'll find out what happens afterwards. I'm a bit of a dick when it comes to a DM. Like, I would sometimes dangle something and just sit back and watch my players just like be tormented by that. And that I will tell you a story of how I did that last week, next week. So Seb was brought back to life through this ritual. We sacrificed a 600 gold diamond that we were saving as for an emergency revivify. But no, it was a really fun session. Even though I did sit out of it for a large portion of it, I was sipping medicine, watching some Archer. But in my mind, I just kept thinking, I wonder what the party's doing at this moment. What did they do with my body? Because I left after a short moment that they were discussing chopping up my body to make it. No, this was legit. This was an actual conversation that was being floated around by the party. They were discussing chopping up my body to make it easier to transport. But in the end, my girlfriend, who's a druid, Circle of the Moon, decided no, I'll just transform into a giant elk, which is a size category huge, and I'll just carry him on my back. So that was I was like, oh my god, I'm missing out on those conversations, but the fact that I'm missing out on them and I don't know what's going on because my character is dead was so fun. I love that, and that's why I love whisper chats, because it's that paranoia. But yeah, that is the story so far. I'm not going to say anything about Sep's secret project that he's working on. He has shared it with the Warlock, the other arcane practitioner in the party. So, who knows, maybe I'll reveal it at some point and do a video on it. But it is an inspiration that I got from someone else's D&D story. I actually had the idea for it, but I just never had a character to implement it. And then when I finally told a person about it, he was just like, dude, that's already a thing. Someone did it and they posted it on YouTube. I'm like, what? And then I just remembered a South Park episode. Simpsons did it. But anyway, before I end this video, I'm going to grab my dog, my tiny little dog again, just to show everyone. Come on, buddy. Oh, come here. Come on. Hold on, folks. He keeps rolling over to get belly rubs. I'll give you belly rubs if you get on camera. Okay? Here you go. Oh, there you go. Here you go. Oh, look at him. Oh, there you go. Oh yeah. So yeah, this is Rascal, who is an actual rascal. Oh, who's my doggy? Oh yeah, who's my doggy? Who's my doggy? Oh yeah, yeah. You sniff. You want to sniff the mask? You want to sniff the mask? Okay. So yeah, this is Rascal, my smallest dog. Now, unfortunately, he's also one of the most territorial of my three dogs. Oh, look at him. See, he's not often in my room, so he's now just like, looking at my desk. Like, what the hell is all this? Right, back over you go to the bed. Hey, don't cling to me. I'll give you belly rubs later. So yeah, folks. I will do more Cyberpunk 2077 videos, hopefully at some point during the day. Again, if you want to support my channel, please go to Patreon, look up Willful Ninja, same as Twitch, the same as YouTube, and feel free to support the channel. It's €1 to €5 depending on the tiers of thing that you want to be part of. There is a special benefit for different tiers. With the largest tier for €5 a month, you'll actually get a D&D one shot that I will DM for you. So there's that. What else is there? Yes, there's also a poll on my Patreon page about what game series should I do in the new year. Now that I did I did Assassin's Creed, like the entirety of it during the COVID isolation in my home. I'm still doing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, obviously, every Thursday. I might do a few videos tomorrow, since tomorrow is my casual day, which is me pretty much doing any type of video game or any kind of video. It's like, there's no theme to cover. But yeah, there's some games on that list which I will do once I finish, obviously a certain game, or I might play them I might find some kind of time slot to put them in. Currently, I'm doing. It most likely wouldn't be on a Monday, depending on the game. The game might fall on a certain day. But once I finish Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Thursday will become my fantasy game setting day, where I play some kind of fantasy themed game. But for now, it is dedicated to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I might do them on Friday. I might do those games on a Friday afternoon. Either way, there's some games up there. There's Overlord, Fable, Mass Effect. I was thinking of putting up Elder Scrolls there because I can buy the games on the Xbox 360. Sorry, the Xbox One. Which is great because I do actually have the games on PC. However, big caveat is, unfortunately, Oblivion on the PC does not have any controller support, which I was just like, what? No. I'm thinking, I'm not sure if it's on the list, but I think I might add it to the list. Dragon Age. Play through all the Dragon Age games. If there is no vote on the poll by December 31st, after I celebrate my anniversary with my girlfriend, because we both are terrible with dates, so to simplify things, we said we'll set our anniversary for the new year. So on that note, if there is none, I'll take a short break from celebrating the anniversary with her, and I will put them all up on a digital spinning wheel, which I can film, and I will spin that wheel to determine which is the next game franchise will I do a Let's Play series on. So yes, that is what I have planned so far. There's just about 15 days left in the poll. I'm trying to make awareness of it in every video. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I do plan, and I need to get into the habit of putting up a post on Twitter and Instagram whenever I'm about to go live with the title of the game, to give people a bit of a heads up that there will be a stream. I need to get into the habit of doing that within the next 30 minutes. So in future when I'll try and put up a post on those social medias that I'm about to go live with a game. If you don't catch the video live on Twitch, you can always jump onto YouTube by the same name. It's always spelled the same way. You can find that channel. It's a picture of me wearing this type of mask with my Assassin's Creed hoodie with my Polaris. More specifically, it was my Polaris Solaris. Yes, I did name it. I named it after Polaris, which is the name of our hills, and Solat, which was my first hill. So it's sort of like I merged those two names together to create Solaris. So yeah, you will see Solaris in red, me holding it up. It's a very fun picture. In my opinion, it's a fun picture. So yeah, you can catch all those videos. If you're already watching this on YouTube, please hit like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to stay up to date, and also to make sure you get those notifications, make sure you click the little bell. This is Willful Ninja signing out. May the force be with you, and remember, roll for initiative.